Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is Friday night, and have you got that Friday feeling? Because we certainly do here on the bus, because Celtic are back this weekend. Time to make amends for an absolute shambles of last week. Time to get that out of our system. So yes, as you can see, folks, myself, joined by David and Liam tonight to look ahead to the game and obviously talk about other Celtic news that's going on, because transfer window is still rumbling on, so there's still plenty of stories there, and it looks like there may be a player imminently about to be signing, going by the news tonight. So, a few things to get through. So, obviously, David, thanks for joining me tonight. How are you doing, mate?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. I'm enjoying this Friday feeling stuff we've started. This is decent, mate. Good shout for this this bit of Friday content. I'm looking forward to discussing all things Celtic related with you, my friend, and obviously Liam. Good to see you, mate.
You as well, David. Been a while.
Well, we've also got a cameo as well in the background after the show we did last Sunday. There was a comment left in for more French Eddie content, and I'm not talking about Alison Edward. We're talking about your dog, the French bulldog, Eddie, who's over your shoulder there, sleeping away. So he is making a cameo tonight. He is the fourth person on the show tonight.
Yep, he's here. He's kind of adopted the top of the couch as his new bed. I normally keep him off camera, but just when he made an appearance last week and somebody mentioned, I thought, well, I'll not move him tonight and I'll just leave him. But if he starts getting too noisy, I'll get him out the room. Okay.
Evidently, he's not got that Friday feeling because he's snoring away just now in the background. He ain't got the Friday feeling at all. But before we go, of course, any further, folks, I just remind everyone to do all the good stuff that helps out the channel, help out old algorithms, CSC, if you please. Of course, hit that like button, helps out massively there. Gets us in more people's recommended videos when they go on YouTube. Obviously, hit that subscribe button and remember to hit the bell notification to know when we go live. And of course, get involved in our comment section tonight, and of course, comments after the video as well. Greatly appreciated. There's been a few videos this week, definitely, that have had quite a big reaction through the week as well with the comments afterwards. So by all means, get involved in them, because YouTube just loves an active channel, so that also helps us out massively. And of course, you can share the link of the Bhoycie Bus on any social media platform that you please. And of course, we're piesports.com sponsor, which is up in that corner. I always get it wrong whenever I guess. Of course, head over there and get your tasty treats ordered and use the code BUS1888. 12.5% off at the checkout. So tell them that the bus sent you. Okay, guys, let's get talking about it. Yeah, let's talk about the game tomorrow, because yes, Celtic are back in league action after last week's feeble attempt at our defence of the Viaplay Cup. It is now gone. It is now off the table. We just need to forget about it. But in the grand scheme of things, I'm going to use your words for last week, David. Didn't fancy you anyway. Didn't fancy you. It's that trophy that in the grand scheme of things, if you ask a Celtic fan, would you sacrifice the League Cup for the bigger picture, essentially, for the bigger prizes? It is the one that would go the way, but still doesn't excuse the fact it was an absolutely meek performance, and we cannot be seeing too much more of that going forward this season. But yeah, of course, we're going in, David, to this game against St Johnstone. Probably the perfect remedy for what we need, looking at who the opponents are. It's at Celtic Park, and yeah, you would expect if you had to hand pick a team where it's like, right, we need sort of a team to bounce back against. I know this might be famous last words. Hopefully it's not. But you'd probably say St Johnstone are a good bet there, where it's like, right, we need to come roaring back here. This is probably the perfect remedy for us, isn't it?
Aye, I didn't actually realise it was St Johnstone until earlier on today that we're playing them, and when I did, it kind of picked me up a little bit there. I thought, without being too disrespectful to St Johnstone, they've had a piss poor start to their season. It's one of those fixtures that you kind of look at and go, especially at home, right? Okay, this could be just a wee bit of a confidence booster. Not that we should really need one. I think it's just a case of the guys just need to pick themselves up, dust themselves off, and go out there and prove a point. Last weekend was disastrous, to say the least. It was disappointing. It was boring. It was just lackluster. It was just not what we are used to and what we expect from a Celtic team. Even the loss is one thing, but the performance was just not. It wasn't acceptable, and I don't believe Brendan Rodgers would have found it acceptable. I'm not on first name terms. I will use his second name. I don't think Brendan Rodgers will have found that acceptable, and things need to be rectified quickly. So the best come out the traps quickly tomorrow and really lay a marker down and just say that was a blip. It's not going to happen again. yes, results may not always go away, but performances like that will not happen again. It's not acceptable. We won't allow it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, good scudding just to get the ball rolling again. You know?
A very good scudding, but Liam, we head into this game in the midst of a crisis, a defensive injury crisis, it seems. And that is the big conundrum tomorrow. A lot of people are like, well, who's going to be playing at centre back? And it seems the choices are Liam Scales or Iwata, who played there a few times at the end of last season with some mixed results, particularly the game against St Mirren, where Curtis Main gave him a bit of a hard time. So I don't know if it's something the fans want to see again, but this is the position we find ourselves in, where we're going to have to choose for one of them. But yeah, Scales being a left-sided defender as well, I suppose that would be the more natural choice, I guess. But it's obviously not great. And then Brendan Rodgers, there's nothing the club can really do about injuries setting in. This is just some freak occurrence. It happened at the start with Ange's first season. Maybe the first 6 months, players were dropping like crazy. It's just a freak occurrence. And sadly, we seem to be getting hit with a lot of the same position getting injured. You know, we've got 4 centre-backs and 3 of them are injured at the moment. And it's just like, well, what can we do? But yeah, it looks like Liam Scales, I would say, probably the one that's going to get the nod tomorrow. Is he the answer long-term? No, evidently not. He did all right at Aberdeen, but you've got to imagine if he gets the nod tomorrow, Liam, home game against St Johnstone, you'd think he'd have enough to get through there. But obviously with Ibrox next week, it needs to be another reinforcement coming in there. But is it Scales you'd expect to get the nod tomorrow, Liam?
Aye, I think so. And I think Liam Scales gets a hard time for our support as well. I think there's a good player in there. He did really well with Aberdeen last year. So he's not an unknown quantity. We know what Iwata did in Japan, but that's Japan. He did well in Scotland. So he's played St Johnstone's and all that. He knows how the game is played. There's not going to be any shocks or bedding in period for him. And so he might be able to get whoever he's with through the game and have that, if they can understand his accent, right? Swedish kid, it's on, right? But he might have that to help him get through a Scottish game as well, as somebody that's played in a lot. And I think he looks good on the left side. I thought when he played in Dublin, he looked really good. And I know he was playing in front of his, home crowd and all that for loads of family and that, but he looked to business and he looked good. And I'm not saying, I've got down to the pace where I'm looking at Liam Scales to save us, but I think we might be surprised tomorrow. And I think if there's certainly an opportunity for a player to step up, tomorrow is the time. He's at home. Yeah, we need the points. It'd be great to see him come in and command that position.
Aye, well, exactly. A lot of good points made, Liam, and they're coming up in the chat as well. A few people coming in saying, well, Scales, he played against teams like this last season and did all right with Aberdeen. They say you're putting them in the Celtic team with all the players around them that are significantly better than what he played alongside last season, and keep in mind who the opposition is, and it's at Celtic Park. So you've got to think we'll have enough there to get through, and it shouldn't be too much an issue. But just something that I wanted to do is sort of, I think it's something we have mentioned a few times on the bus, but again, David, this is kind of like, we'll talk about the injury crisis that's set in, and as I say, there's nothing you can really do in terms of it's a freak occurrence that happens. But obviously it does help when you've got a reserve team, youth players that are coming through that are looking promising. But we come back to this problem again regarding the B team and so on, and it's like, is it not like a damning indictment that there's nobody that's... No, I mean, I've seen somebody suggest something through the week saying with the crisis that bad. You might need to recall, was it Boston Lawal, the defender who's gone on loan to Fleetwood and stuff like that? And people are like, oh no, God, please don't. It's like, it's quite sad that every time, with the exception, I think, of maybe like Rocco Vata, who seems to be the only name from the B team that gets any sort of excitement from the fans. It's kind of really sad that we find that position for our youth side at the moment. I've said it before on the bus. I think it's the system really that they're in that's the problem. It's not the club's fault really. They're in a league where there's effectively nothing on the line, so you always feel like there's no real development for them. It's essentially glorified friendlies they're playing week in, week out, and the lower, it's not, what would it be, the 5th tier, 6th tier of Scottish football. They're not allowed to get promoted into the top 4 divisions because whatever rules. It's Hearts, Rangers and Celtic have got B teams down there. And you'd think that, say we'd have a player that could come through there and get a game, but it seems anytime a name or suggestion comes up, most fans are like, oh no, when you look at the results as well, the results
they're
at
getting
times
scudded every week, Phil. They're getting scudded every week.
So that's a bit of a sad indictment, really, of where the youth team is at the moment.
Aye. I mean, I was listening to TNF, last night's TNF this morning, and I don't know if I subscribe to the idea that we need to go back into transfer market again for another centre half, even on a loan deal. I don't. To be honest, I think Scales is more than capable of slotting in, especially domestically. I know the Champions League's a completely different story. I just don't know if it's really going to be. Is it really worthwhile? Who's out there that we're going to get on a short-term deal to play in 6 Champions League games? And are they even going to be that good a quality? We're going to have to really spend a hell of a lot of wages on somebody that's there to fill a gap for 2 months. That's not ideal, but we've been in Champions League games before with probably worse options at centre back. At least we've got an actual natural left-sided centre half to pick from. We've got 2. Yes, Kobayashi, I think the jury's out, but even Iwata he can fill in at centre half. I know a lot of people I don't want to see Iwata playing there again, but he can play there. And like I said, Scales is a far better option than Iwata and Kobayashi or anybody that's playing in that youth system, so that youth team just now. Yes, maybe that is a sad indictment of where the youth team is, and maybe it is a case of you're not even willing to give any of them a chance. But I mean, if the best one that we can pick from is we shipped out on loan to Fleetwood in League 2 in the English division.
It's League 1 or League 2. I think it's League 1. I think, but
is it League 1? Well,
so.
Still, it's not exactly
the third tier of English football. Yeah, third flight.
It doesn't fill me with any more confidence than just a Liam Scales. For the short term, I don't think it's what I don't really want to see more wages being spent on a short term centre half option. When I to be honest, let me throw this question at you, Phil. Let's say that's the Phil, the klaxon.
That's the klaxon. That's the Martin O'Neill klaxon. Aye.
If Liam Scales wasn't our player and he was out and not out on loan in Aberdeen last season, let's say he was just an Aberdeen signing, and we decided that he was the best centre half out of Celtic last season, so we've picked him up on a reasonable price, $1 million, let's say. 800,000. I think I'd be quite happy to go, right, cool, he did all right last year, let's see what he can do. I think because he was one of our players already and we put him out on loan, there's a different viewpoint on whether Scales is up to it or not. I think we give him a chance. But people have been arguing, well, not arguing, let's say debating, whether Welsh should have been given a new contract. I don't see there's much difference between Welsh and Scales and ability-wise. There's a reason why Scales got sent out on loan to get game time last year, and Scales and Welsh struggled to get anywhere near our starting lineup. I'm actually more confident with Scales at the back from what I've seen so far in pre-season and what he's done last year at Aberdeen than maybe Welsh at the minute. So I'm not worrying too much about the centre-half. It's not ideal, obviously, signing all these boys and they're all now injured, but I think Scales has got enough there in his locker to get us through the next 2 months, he says.
Yeah. Aye, famous last words. But no, what you're saying there regarding Scales, I think if he'd been signed, if he wasn't our player last season, we'd signed him in the summer because of the performance he put in. He'd probably fall under that, he'll do a job for us, because there has been Celtic fans out there that have been talking about Duke of Aberdeen. He always seems to come up and say, he would do a good job for us. And it's like, well, we ultimately need to be looking for players that don't just fall into the category of he would do a job for us. We need something that's going to push us to that next level. But that seems to be the conundrum at the moment. How does one get these type of players? This has been the long-running debate all summer after what was said at the start, David, where it was like, we're going to look to move to the next level. And a lot of fans thought that was going to be 8, 9, 10 million pound signings coming in the door constantly, and here we are going into the last week, and it doesn't look like those types of signings are going to materialise, and it's going to be a bit of a scramble at the end. But I've said a few times now, but it's like, I don't read too much into the transfer fees. Once I see them play in a Celtic shirt, then I'll decide how I feel about them, because there's plenty of examples over the last 15 years or so you can point to of players that we've bought for pittance, absolute pittance, and they've done took us to the next level essentially. I mean, we'll talk about Europe, talk about one of our best results in the last 50 years, obviously beating Barcelona. Who can forget it? We never forget that one. Victor Wanyama scored that night, and he cost less than £1 million for a team in Belgium. And Tony Watt scored the winner, who we picked up for less than 100,000 from Airdrie United. So it's like, you just don't know. You just don't know what will happen. It will all come down to tactics when it comes to the European stuff. And when we get to that road, we'll see how that goes when those European games come along. We'll see how we get on that one. But for the time being, it's all about domestic action. And yeah, tomorrow, Liam, as well. Midfield, Callum McGregor. This one's became a bit of a weird point. It's hard to fathom that we're in a point where we're talking about, McGregor's been playing bad, because we've been that used to him playing so well and so consistent. But something's broken within the system right now that we play, where he is overly exposed in the middle, it seems. Obviously, last couple of seasons with Ange Postecoglou, you had the fullbacks coming in and helping in the midfield. Is that all this is down to? It's just a case of we're playing overlapping fullbacks again? And is it just showing how vital Rio Hatate is as well, that we need him back in there just to help McGregor out? Because there's been too many times so far in the first 3 games where he's on the ball and he's maybe dwelled a bit too long and he's getting caught out in the middle of the park. And it's like, you're so not used to Callum McGregor being in his position. But I mean, ultimately, I don't think it's a drop in his form and he's suddenly losing it. I just think we need to just do some things just to tweak it a wee bit around him, just to get the best out of him. But yeah, tomorrow, how would you line up with the midfield? And do you think that would be an issue again, or do you think it will be like, no, McGregor he'll deal with it tomorrow?
See, the thing with McGregor is he's not lost any form, really. He's still a good football player, still does all the right things right. I've used this analogy before. I think it's like timing. You're playing the record at the wrong speed. So since the beginning of the season, your tempo's changed. And one of the things that you always observe myself with McGregor when he's in the midfield is that, come on. Like, he was always talking about rhythm going. Now we're taking, as guys discussed last night, we're taking longer times to take throw-ins, get the ball back in play. And I think when you get football players, there's certain type of a tempo and a speed that you get comfortable playing. Some people, it's too slow, so they can't get involved in the game, or other people, it's not fast enough, or slow enough. And I think he's one of that. I think we are, especially with Hatate, because like wavelength players, all the wee touches, all the passes, but the movement quicker, sharper, that seems to be missing. And I think a guy like McGregor, that will definitely throw him off, and I think that is. And so I think the players around him need to pick up their game as well, get him involved earlier, get him at the right time, do these sort of things that we were doing that makes Callum McGregor a good player. And he's been a great captain for us so far. And some of his moments where he's taking that team on, this is a chance for the team to pay back the captain. It'd be a good time. Bring him into the game, make him look good. Get in the end of the ball, give him good balls, that sort of stuff. Rest of the midfield, we talked about Scales and Awata. I think Awata is a player as well. I think the physicality of a game like St Johnstone, he's a brick shithouse. Like, build them as well. And the fact that he can play CH, put him in beside McGregor, see what happens. Maybe we can do that or something like that, But I think he's a good player. And I hate it when we see good players sitting on the bench that can't find a place for them in the team, And I know my thoughts, right? And you got players I think are like inferior. It's like, God, you could get left back, and could do just as good a job, So, and it creates a lot of disharmony in the team. I think as we're starting to see it as well, where good players aren't getting time and aren't getting a chance to show. So as far as the midfield goes tomorrow, I'd like to see something a wee bit different. I'd like to see Home again. Don't think we've seen him. I mean, Yeah, that's a bit. Riley's hot and cold right now. I mean, we were loving him 2 weeks ago, and now very lethargic. He's a very sad ass like player, isn't he?
I think the early on in the game last week, we cut Kilmarnock open twice early in the game where Holmes zipped one across the box and Kyogo slid in and missed it. But a few minutes later, again, we cut them open with some nice 1-2 play, Kyogo, and then to O'Reilly. He's got plenty of time in front of him. It opens up and he has a shot, just a really meek shot on the edge of the area and just passes into the goalkeeper's hands. And it's like, you had so much time there to just basically bear down in the goal and just slot it past the keeper. But he rushed it a wee bit. And it's like decision-making let him down there big time, Liam. But I know what you mean. It's the first 2 weeks, though, he scored 2 goals. He's looking like he had that great assist for David Turnbull against Ross County where he just wouldn't let that ball go down the wing where he was battling with the defender, managed to wrestle it off him, crossed at the back post, and Turnbull tapped it in. So it's like, most people coming into this season felt that O'Reilly will be one of these players that, will pick up under Brendan Rodgers. And but I'd say last week, I think a lot of them have took a dent to their reputation after that. But it's gone now. There's nothing you can do about it. But I do remember that chance early on with O'Reilly. That miss, and it's like, God, how different it could have been. How different it could have. Picking up though on what Liam's saying there, and Polly Moffat comes in talking about this as well. David saying like Hitate's wee cameo at Pittodrie. And I did think that in the second half at Aberdeen, we did seem to have a bit more control. And I don't know if it's totally down to maybe Aberdeen just ran themselves into the ground because they did seem to run at a bit of puff, but we did seem to have a bit more balance in the middle of the park in the second half. And Hitate was on for a wee while. And even when he went off and then Home came on, again, we had a wee bit more balance. And I think it was because they were sort of sitting a wee bit deeper to help out McGregor because, in the first half in particular, I felt he was caught out so many times. But for the morning, what would your sort of look be for the midfield? And where do you stand as well on O'Reilly, who we were just talking about, David?
What you're saying about the Aberdeen game, I think what Tate and Home, from what we've seen so far, brings is that little bit more burst of energy and a bit more forward thinking, which is kind of what I think, especially last week, is what was missing. There wasn't, it was far too much sideways and backwards passing for me. I have to agree with you, Liam. I'd quite like to see. I'd like to see Awata giving him a wee bit more of a chance. I think he would complement Kyle Mack really, really well. Actually, I think from what we've seen of Awata in his natural position, is he's very calm and tidy on the ball, and I think that could just complement McGregor really well, especially also on his more defensive side of the game. Now, I know people keep saying like, "Oh, it's not a massive measuring stick to go by," but I mean, you don't win the best player in the J League if you're guff. Like, there's a lot of good players came out of that league over the years. Moved to obviously to our league in recent years, and Bundesliga, the Premier League. Good. There is good talent in that league, which we were obviously ignorant to a few years ago. But I would quite like to see Awata get a game. Now, there was a comment came in, and it's a fair comment. Kyle Mack, Hatate, O'Reilly are probably our best midfield, our best midfield that we have. And who are you going to drop for Awata? Well, obviously right now Hatate's not fit, so I think you give somebody the opportunity to show what they can do. And I think St Johnstone at home is a perfect opportunity to do that. We've given Home the opportunity to start last week. Didn't grasp it with both hands. Didn't grasp that brass ring, Phil. Still willing to give him another start, but I think it would just be good to let's give Awata. I don't think Awata's done anything wrong to suggest he's not worthy of at least getting a start at home against St Johnstone when there's a position there to be filled. Didn't work last week, the midfield that we tried. I think we can afford to put Awata in the midfield, and it's not going to cause too many upsets, I wouldn't say, and there's plenty of midfielders to pick from off that bench if it's not working. But no, I think you're onto something there, Liam. I think Awata would complement Callum McGregor well. Whether that lets McGregor push a little bit further forward, we know what he can do under a Brendan Rodgers side before, being a bit more of a forward-thinking player, and then you can allow Awata to do the bit more of the neat and tidy and even the dirty, gritty work in that more deeper role, and allow the likes of O'Reilly and Kyle Mack, or whether it's Odin and Kyle Mack, I don't know why I keep calling him Carmack until tonight. I've never done that. I never call him Carmack, but I'm
you're on good terms with him as well.
I know. I'm on. First name terms with
best
Odin.
pals.
We're all buddies.
Aye.
We're all pals here.
The thing is with Iwata, like when you think back to last season and the games that he did play, whenever he played in the middle, you're right, he didn't do much wrong. The game that I think a lot of people stand out, and again, it's in my mind, it's always fresh mind, is the game that he played at centre back against St Mirren, where Curtis Bain just gave him a hard time. But if he's playing in the middle of the park, whenever he was there last season, I don't think he did much wrong. I can remember the League Cup final and we beat Rangers, and there was a point where we were really under the cosh in the second half, and Iwata came on as a substitute, and again he helped alleviate the pressure. He was very good on the ball, very calm at a time when we needed it, because Rangers' backs were up after getting themselves back into the game at 2-1. So I think in the middle of the park, and yeah, you're right, it's St Johnstone at home, and we've got Hatate injured anyway. It's got to be one that you can definitely go in there, and he's a safe enough bet, you would think. So yeah, it's worth a go there, totally. So I wouldn't be surprised if we did see that tomorrow. But it would be, I'd say it's between home and it's between 10. You're not going to be made to forget that one, David. Never going to forget that one. But yeah, up front, obviously the front three, I think he'll be starting. But yeah, the wingers, this seems a predicament, because I've heard today, God, just to add it to the list, why not? I just add another one to the list. There's now talk that Abada's got an injury as well, and it's like, oh, for God's sake, are you kidding? But yeah, it's they're just dropping like flies at the moment, Liam. So wingers, even though it seems like we've got an absolute plethora of them, if Abada's out as well, then that's just another one to add to the injury list. Is it talk Haksabanovic is looking to get away? Does he come in and get a start tomorrow? We've seen in the past that Haksabanovic seems to be good when he comes off the bench, but when he starts a game, he tends to be completely invisible. I know that James Forrest has a very good record against St Johnstone in the past. Could it be they see him come in from the cold? So when it comes to options at the wide forwards, it's a bit I thought we were quite loaded with them, but when I look at the options now, especially you take a batter out of it, Liam. But guys, like this has to be, in all seriousness, it has to be Yang starting. It's got to be. I know I'm bringing up Haksabanovic and Forrest there, but after last week when we talked about Yang, he's played himself into the first team. He's got to start. Then he doesn't. And then the big take that most fans had from last week about who did all right last week, Yang, when he came on. So surely to God, Liam, this is the time for him to start. Very direct. He's impressed a lot of fans. A lot of Celtic fans just want to see wingers take on defenders. Nothing too elaborate. And the way he just gets his head down and just goes at them. Hopefully, we get to see that tomorrow, especially on the big park, Liam, the Celtic Park being as big as it is. We can really stretch that St Johnstone defence.
Aye. It's funny, I still feel I haven't watched this team play many games. The fact they don't do all the qualifying again. By this time in the season, we'd have sussed out who our really good players are and who might not make it and that. We'd have a much better idea, but it's just so much mystery surrounding them. Anytime I've seen Yang come on, I think he looked great. He looked direct, running down the line, taking players on. That one where he cut to the byline, thought he was good there. Mm-hmm. Hacksaw didn't do too bad with his cameo last week.
So again, he's good when he comes off the bench. He's all right when he comes off the bench, right?
I would start Yang and then see what happens. Yep. If he's a blinder, keep him on, let him show the crowd what he can do. This will be his first home match, I think. Did he play the first game? Not sure if he got on.
Yang, he came on against Ross County, and the very first thing he did was we had a throw in, just threw it to him, and he just got his head down and just ran at the fullback, just like really direct, really quick. And it's like, yeah, that's what we want to see, because it's really frustrating when you see a winger who I know he's done a lot for the club, William and James Forrest over the years, but one of James Forrest's main party tricks is he'll come forward with the ball and then he'll like cut inside or pass it inside. He doesn't tend to go for the byline, and I like to see my wingers go for the byline, take on the fullback, get a cross in, and it's like as soon as Yang did that, I was like, yeah, I like the directness of this boy, and yeah, every time he's been on the park, I've been impressed with that, and up at Pittodrie as well, good assist for O'Reilly's goal, so he's what pros, but it's got to be tomorrow.
The James Forrest thing, it's like every young defender's probably grown up watching highlight reels of James Forrest there the last couple of years, We all know that we drop and that we think. I've seen it a million times. And he's doing it slower, so you got plenty of, what's coming. You know, you'll get game, but most people, it's like once you've seen how the trick's done, you know, you can't do it. Motion, it's easier to spot. So I'm looking forward tomorrow. I'm looking forward to see Yang, Haxa. Fuck, you know what? I hope we just get a really good display for the team.
Yeah,
like, come on, this team puts us through some fucking shite, just with all this lack of communication and all that. It's been a crappy week. Come on, entertain us tomorrow, right? Like, says like
I want to see two up front. I want to see two up front tomorrow.
That's the.
I'd love to think about three at the back. I was wanting to ask you guys this. What do you think? Because we're running out of fullbacks, right? So I know Johnson can play in that thing, but we talked about versatility of players, and that way you maybe get Iwata and McGregor playing together in the middle. You know, if we go three at the
I
think it's worth a go because apparently
up front with Kyogo. Why not? I think if we're bringing in this boy for the Greek league, and if potentially the audience has anything, if this ever comes to anything, these boys are clearly going to probably go in as first choice left winger.
Yeah.
So does that then put Maeda up front? Is that why we've seen Maeda getting a shot up front in the pre-season games to see what he can do in this Brendan Rodgers system? Is he going to be the guy that partners Kyogo up front if we're not going to sign another striker and O is obviously not available? Because if that is the case, St Johnstone at home again is maybe the chance to see it and play. Give Haksabanovic his start at left wing, Yang on the right. Even start Forrest on the left wing if need be, with Yang on the right, and play two up front, or Kyogo playing that deeper role coming in, and laying it off for Maeda with that pace up front. I think the two of them up front together, they've got an understanding. We've seen it.
Yeah.
Even Maeda's on that left now. Look, the left. I love Maeda. I really want him to still be a starter in the team, and I really push him to do well. You've said yourself, Phil, you think he might be the guy this year. Well, maybe being that up front partner in Kyogo is the reason, because it is that what he needs, because it's just no working on the left, is he? He's been asked to do things that a natural winger is obviously asked to do, and that's just not his game. It's not his game. I mean, he's a striker for Japan. He was a striker in Japan.
Yes.
The top goal scorer in that league as the striker. Well, Kyogo was playing there, by the way.
Yep.
There's got to be something to it. Give it a go.
I
don't see why. I don't see why not. We don't know. Like you said, Liam, I feel like we still don't know what our starting 11 is. We don't know who our strongest team is. We don't know who is really going to be playing where. Well, so let's just see. Let's try something different. I think, like somebody else said in the chat there, we've got players in that squad that we can afford to drop one or two to try different things against the likes of a poor St Johnstone side at home.
Yeah,
and I don't want that to come across like I'm being ignorant or disrespectful, or maybe I'm just, obviously there's no God-given right that we win these games, but I mean,
I know. I get what you mean.
So I don't know.
This is the type of fixture that you can go for these things, because ultimately the overall strength of the team, we should be able to get the job done. But here's a name that I actually forgot this comment here. Mo says, Mo from The Simpsons coming in and asking about Alistair Johnson. He's back in the team. Canada, I call you Canada's favourite, Tim, Liam. But right now, Celtic's favourite Canadian, Alistair Johnson, he's back. He's training. I would expect him to be in amongst the team tomorrow. So again, apparently he can also fill in at centre back. So maybe that is something that we're overlooking there. Maybe he'll be in there, but that would also mean that Ralston would still be playing. And again, Tony Ralston was unbelievable in Ange's first season. There's no denying that. He had some incredible performances, and he found a level that most of us thought he didn't have, but he's definitely regressed since then. He's not started this season terribly convincingly. Johnson is a natural right back. He's great going up that wing, but it may end up tomorrow. Maybe he has got a history. He's played at centre back before. Maybe he'll be in there. Or if we do change up the formation, you never know. He could slot in at centre back or as a right midfielder or something. He's got a bit of utility about him, isn't he, Liam? Alistair Johnson.
I'm looking forward to see Alistair back. I mean, I hope he's ready. You know.
Oh, aye.
He's
He'll be ready.
Physical, but you know the one thing that worries me, and you know, and this might be part of Ralston. I like Anthony Ralston. I think he's a good player, and he tries his heart out. It's no Ali Johnson right now, but it's like, oh my God, Ralston gets the shit kicked out of him every game. It's all horrendous, like near career ending tackle on Ralston, and he just gets up and sometimes take him off, but sometimes you can see him and go, Christ, he's hurt him. He's hurt. I think a lot of that affects his game because it was like when Tierney was here as well. There was absolutely no protection for some of the referees. Some of the tackles that were going into our back, we were thinking, oh, Tony's a big rough and tumble Scottish boy. He can take it and all that. I know you can't take too many of them, and I think that's reset his career. So I just watch it for Alistair Johnson tomorrow with these cluggers coming up that you know hoof and kick. And just sort of like not targeting them, but as Neil Lennon said through the week, just put a wee knock on him or something, you know, daft like that you wouldn't think would go on in football, but it does, you know.
Aye. Well, the thing is, with Ibrox being the fixture next week going there, I think Johnson has to be back in for that. So I think he's going to get some sort of game time tomorrow, whether he starts and plays like an hour and then they take him off just to sort of just get some minutes in the legs, or he does come on as a substitute. But I think it would be better to start him if he's ready and ready to go. So again, this is a fixture that I feel like, yeah, you can throw him in, and I think he will be ready and raring and up for it. But let's now talk, guys, about an imminent new signing. It seems to be happening, guys, because as though the story obviously broke just a couple of days ago about Lewis Palmer, who plays for Aris in the Greek league. Another winger, and Brendan Rodgers popping up and saying, don't know why we're signing another winger. We've got a million wingers. But as I said a minute ago, we've also got an injury crisis. So trying to actually pick two wingers at the moment is pretty hard. But yeah, it seems like it's happening now. The report is £3.5 million. He's a Honduran international as well. Whatever, take that for what it's worth. We have had, of course, a Honduran international in our ranks not too long ago, and he did pretty well, it's safe to say. Emilio Ezagiri. But yeah, it looks like it might be happening. People have said already in the chat tonight, those YouTube highlights, they look dynamite. I know that's Mark Kearney's favourite thing, David. YouTube highlights. He loves a good YouTube highlight video. They do always, they're always going to look amazing in them. But yeah, it looks like he's coming in £3.5 million. We've been back and forward on this whole project players and what's a Brendan signing, what's a club signing. And as I said earlier on, there's been so many players that we've signed for like relatively cheap prices that turn out they do improve our first team. So my stance again is simply he comes in, I'll judge him once I watch him in a Celtic shirt. How are you feeling about it, David? Excited about this one?
Yeah, I am excited about him actually. I hadn't heard of him until the other day, but I've had a wee look at obviously his YouTube clips. So we can only go from that really, and obviously his stats. I didn't realise that they'd played in 4 Champions League qualifiers already this season and scored 2 goals and got 2 assists. So that's pretty promising.
Good.
Yeah, I think his stats are similar to Jota's, and I think the Greek leagues are probably a more competitive league than ours. I think not that I'm a Greek footballing expert by any stretch of the imagination, but there's some talented players in there. A couple of dud goalkeepers have come for that neck of the woods as well, to be fair. But unreal in Holland for some reason. But I think he excites me. I have to admit, it's maybe one of the first players that's kind of got me excited so far this transfer window. That obviously we've put a solid, there's a bit of solid bidding going on there. So if he's going to be I wouldn't want to say the Jota replacement due to him being more predominantly a left winger than right, but no, he looks a handful. He likes to score goals, he likes to assist, and he's got a little bit of Champions League experience at 23. So whether it's even though it's only qualifiers, it's a lot more than some of these other guys that we've been signing. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited about it.
I see from the clips that I've seen, the stuff I've heard so far. It seems like he's hit a free kick as well, which is something that we definitely need some threat from free kicks, and obviously a good set piece taker would be handy because our corner ratio is pretty poor from scoring off of them. So hopefully he's a bit of a dead ball specialist. But as I mentioned there, Liam, obviously we've got a connection with Honduran internationals, Emilio Ezagiri. Funny enough, I did see a headline tonight that apparently he talked to him. Supposedly to convince him about the move. It was one of these headlines that popped up on Twitter from one of these many Celtic blog pages. Emilio Ezagiri, helps to seal Celtic move, but it was worded in a way that made it look like Ezagiri coming back. It's like, what? But no, it was obviously alluding to he's had some kind of influence there. I'm sure when Palmer turns up and he does the standard Celtic TV interview of the same 5 or 6 questions, I'm sure that'll be one of the ones that comes up saying, "Oh, did you talk to Emilio Ezagiri? Did you watch him when he was playing for Celtic and that?" But that'll 100% come up, no doubt about it. But what do you feel about it, Liam? Palmer coming in, have you been impressed with David just reading off some of the stats there, so on? So do you think, are you intrigued to see this boy in Celtic shirt? We do have, of course, there's no number 7 right now at Celtic, and it is a bit of a magical number at the club, and that number is associated with wingers most of the time, forward players. So could he be the new number 7 at Celtic?
I don't know. I think we'll see. We'll see in 2 weeks. He's going to be striding into Brazen Head with an Ezagiri tap on.
Yep.
Be front and centre of the Christmas card, the new campaign and all that, or they'll just try and put him into that Jota shape, to try and convince us that, oh, look, we've replaced the Waco, they love him in the Christmas video. He'll be Mamble number 5 or something,
Oh, God. He wears the number 17 shirt, Phil, just now.
Okay, Nawrocki took that from when Jota left there. He's got that number now.
Oh, does he? Oh, I didn't even realise.
He does,
my number games have dropped big time.
Yeah, number 7 still sitting. Since Giacomakis left, number 7 sitting unoccupied. So we are looking for
a number 10 shirt needs filled as well, by the way. Unless I get he's still managed to cling on to that. But
God,
take it off him.
God, no. But no, so what was that, Liam? Sorry.
Oh, no, carry on.
Oh, no worries, mate. Well, another name that did come up, and again, it's just links. So I believe Alistair Jack came in earlier on and said, apparently we are in for a left back named Leif Davis, who plays for Ipswich Town. Have you heard anything about this one tonight? But yeah, Ipswich also got promoted back to the Championship last season after a few years in the doldrums. They got a lot of praise. In fact, one of the names that did come up in the managerial merry-go-round when we were looking for one after Ange left was McKenna, the Ipswich manager. He seems to be quite highly praised. But yeah, Leif Davis's name came up, and say Alistair Jack popped up in the chat and mentioned it earlier on. And I was like, oh, right, okay. I just had a wee glance at him while you were talking there. But yeah, he plays for Ipswich right now. But yeah, I mean, we could, for yourself, Liam, obviously the left back situation. I can see you talk to your blue in the face about it, but yeah, we know your stance regarding the left back, and you're right. We do need to improve that area. Obviously, there was a lot of talk, a lot of speculation, or more hope, David, that it would be Kieran Tierney coming back on a loan or something, but that doesn't look like it's happening either. It looks like he's off to Real Sociedad in the Spanish League. I didn't actually know they're in the Champions League this season. They finished in the top 4 in Spain, so end of the day, Spanish League, Champions League football guaranteed. Probably got a good shout at doing pretty well in Europe. And yeah, it's a fair play. It's a fair move for Tierney at the end of the day. And the wages that we would have had to have supplemented on that one, unless the boy was willing to come back down to a sort of salary that he was getting when he was at Celtic before, it would have been a tough one to pull off. But yeah,
I was never confident on that one, to be honest, because the Sociedad link was mentioned a couple of weeks ago, along when what's his name, the Dutch lad from Man United went there as well, I think, or is planning on going there. Van de Beek. I think they've got him as well for similar, a loan with an option to buy. I believe there's no option to buy for the Kieran Tierney deal though, but I think they're still paying. They're giving Arsenal some sort of compensation for taking him on loan and paying his full wages, which obviously we're not going to compete with that. Even if Celtic had, the only way Kieran Tierney would have considered coming back is if we matched the same deal, and we're not. I don't know if I'd be happy if we tried to match that as well for us just to be in the same position again next year. Obviously, Kieran Tierney automatically improves us if he came, but I just don't feel that spending that kind of money on wages for a boy on loan for one season is unless there's an opportunity to get him maybe next year. Maybe that's why he's going to Sociedad, because if he's going to be coming back to Arsenal, he might become a bit more affordable next season. Look, he's done it all here. He's getting a chance to go play for a decent Spanish side.
Yeah,
go and live in Spain for a year, experience that, play Champions League football with them. Who's their manager? Is it Rafa Benitez?
There's another name from Celtic past that was linked to us for a good while. I don't know if it is him just now. I'm not sure. I'll find out for you. Hold on to that. I'll have a quick check.
It's irrelevant. I've got a feeling there's a pretty decent manager there just now. Another reason
I can also add to the pulling power, I guess.
Aye.
Well. It's not Rafa Benitez, nope, and it's not one that I think any of us have heard of. So fair play. But no, there's many. It's also from a Scotland point of view, from an international career, it benefits him to be playing at a high level, especially because it looks like Scotland are going to qualify for the Euros next summer as well. So from that standpoint, is to be playing at a good level every week, and it'll just do his game the world a good. And yeah, most people in the chat are saying it was this a pipe dream. I did think that maybe there is a chance we get down to the last few days, but it looks like we're not even going to get to the last few days. He's going to be away imminently, it seems. And there, of course, is a name that Brown Warriors brought up, the one that got away, Bugger Melling, who played for Rosenborg against us in multiple qualifiers years ago. Every time we played him, I always went, that left back that plays for them, most fans always said the same. He's really good. You have to look at that boy. And that he's evaded us again. He's off to Copenhagen now. He was playing in France the last I saw. But yeah, he's off to Copenhagen now for €2 million. He would have done a half-decent job for us.
Is it cool? Is the Rennes player cooled down?
The Merlin.
Is it Rennes he plays for?
Nantes. It's
Nantes. Nantes, right, yeah. Nantes, right,
it seems to have gone quiet, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the deal's dead. Celtic could be working on something, because it does seem that a left back is on the agenda. The names that we're seeing a lot of tweets coming out, like from the likes of Anthony Joseph and Stephen McGowan, about what Celtic are in the market for. And even though there may not be a lot of names flying around, it's just encouraging, isn't it, Liam, just to hear that the positions that we know you with the left back, definitely, but just in general, most of the positions that all us fans are identifying, it seems like a lot of these positions are the ones that are getting named by these journalists, saying that Celtic are definitely in the market looking at these. Whether they all come off and whether that happens is all remains to be seen. It's not as easy as you think sometimes when it comes to a transfer. A lot of agent work involved and back and forth and haggling. We'll wait and see. But at least it was encouraged to hear that Celtic are at least in the market for some of these positions, aren't they?
I mean, I was really excited about the Merlin. I've dreamed of having a Celtic tap with Merlin on the back and put number 23 on it or something.
The wise man. There you go. The wise man of the bus.
Football. We used to play football. A wee guy we called Harry Potter. He was magic in the first half, disappeared in the second. So I just like the idea that jokes all come, all the dad jokes all come for the Merlin thing. But
oh god, aye.
But again, I like the idea of being linked with players for France, for Spain, and like France has been good for us. Holland's been good for us, I think, mostly. Greece, these are all good leagues and that, and just to. Like, I don't know any of these players, half the teams, unless we've played them in the UEFA or something like that, or they had a Seville team in the 70s, I wouldn't really know them, And so teams like that, even the Greek boy, I watch PAOK and AEK, and then again when I'm in Bulgaria, that's on the telly all the time. I watch the Greek football, and the standard there is pretty good. I think it's like closer to like the Belgian league or something like that, something that's not quite or the Dutch league. It's pretty good football, and it's hard, it's fast. Same with the Bulgarian league as well. Don't get the whole decline of Bulgarian football is something else. And I suppose I just read a thing of how Berbatov and the two Petrovs are trying to restructure Bulgarian football. It's a really cool article.
Right, okay.
Talk about that another day, but
Stilian doing his bit.
But I just want to get his linked with players. I want to see his. I got nothing against Greg Taylor. I mean, fucking hell, that elbow he took to the face and the head, how that never went to the compliance officer, I'll never know. That's our team's got to get a pair of balls and start calling that shit out, you know.
Do you know what's the thing, Liam? That tackle, Liam,
you know,
just quickly on that concerned me more. Did you notice how his leg sort of bent under his body as he fell? It was even the elbow that when I first saw the replay, like the hit him in the face, that didn't even register with me. It was what I saw his leg do, the way it bent under him. I thought, oh, he's definitely broke a bone there, but no, he was, he was able to walk after it. But my God, my first concern was, that looks brutal the way he's fell there. But that could have been really bad. But no, it was overall, he's definitely thrown an arm at him, definitely. But
Liam, would you be happy for Burnaby to start tomorrow, mate? Would you want to? Let's forget. You forget, obviously, what your feelings on Taylor are as a football player for a minute. Would you still what's your lesser of two evils for you? Would you stick with Taylor, knowing what you're getting with him, or does Burnaby get that chance tomorrow for you?
It's knowing what we're getting right now that terrifies me, because you could see exactly what it is on the tin. It's like you're getting like 10-yard runs to the sidelines. He gets the ball, and then he doesn't know what to do. If Conor McGregor's no close to him for that 10-yard ball going back, he tries to take them on and he changes his mind. You know, unless it's an open route for him, you're not going to get much. With Burnaby, I thought he was a lot better in tighter situations on the ball. That when there's a player or two in front, he can find ways of going through. He's no good as defensively as Greg Taylor, is what they always say, but I don't think Greg Taylor's that great defensively either. I still go back to, against Motherwell last week, where he just got twist-turned, and I think he was picking up his shin pads and his shoes and never know out of the park when he came back for that goal. I mean, somebody said it in the chat earlier, and I agree with him as well. I think Liam Scales played very, very well at left back. Okay, so if we've got a problem, and we know we're getting targeted because, he's a lot of the larger teams we play target Greg Taylor, put Scales in there. He did brilliant when we played up at Dundee. That goal of his was an absolute screamer. And
he scored against Dundee United, and he scored against Green Morton, an absolute belter in the cup. He did actually,
If we were to go with this three at the back, Liam, say we went for that three at the back that you suggested and played the wing backs, you definitely would probably prefer Burnaby in that position away, because I feel he has got the legs to get up and down. Yes, he defensively is not great, but from an attacking point of view, I think people in the chat here as well saying that he seems to be more of a midfielder or a winger than a left back. And then what happens when we bring in a left back in? If we bring in another left back in, we've got three left backs. Does Burnaby get moved on, put out on loan? Does Taylor get sold? What happens? I know that's not our problem to worry about. That's the manager's problem. But
it's interesting.
Three left backs.
It's interesting though, like what you said about moving him up a bit. Okay, so if we're not getting a tune out of Haksabanovic, see what Burnaby can do then. Let him move up a little front. I thought he had a pretty good pre-season, Burnaby. I thought he did okay. I think he chipped in with a couple of goals. I mean, he was certainly more, I don't know, like he had more of a presence in the pre-season than, say, Greg Taylor, in a positive sense.
Assisted a goal Monday. one movement, didn't he? Assisted his own goal.
That was like something else.
He did one against Bilbao as well. The wee 1-2 with
he looks
O'Reilly, I know, and it was a really nice finish. But the one against Gambo Osaka, was it? He chased it down. Oh my God, very Burnaby goal, that one.
Well, mind me the Scott Brown pass to Dembele, only it was just the same guy.
I just chased it down. It was
pass.
No, there's definitely a Burnaby's a left midfielder. I definitely feel like he's one of those players when you watch me go, how have you ended up as a defender at this point in your career? You're definitely not a defender. In your youth career, you probably played at a more advanced part further forward, because he does feel like he's built for being like a wide midfielder in attack. In fact, I'm sure there was games last season, I'm certain that Ange brought him on as a sub and played him as like a left winger. And one or two games at Celtic Park, I remember being at, where he came on and Taylor's still on the park, and I'm like, he put Burnaby on essentially as a forward, like a left forward. Is that what he's done here?
I think he was through on goal and he passed it to nobody.
I'm pretty sure there was a game we smashed Hibs last season, and it was, I think he played in that game. He came on as a sub, but it was late on in the game, and we should have got a penalty, but I remember it was getting brushed away by people in the press. Like, he's won 6-1 anyway. What does it matter? And it's like, no, it was still a penalty regardless if we were winning 6-1 at the time. I can remember there was definitely a few games last season where he came on and Taylor's still on the park, and you're like, is he playing him as like, wide forward? Because he's very, very attack minded without a shadow of doubt.
Stick him up front, fuck it.
Aye, stick him up front. Aye, there you go. There's your backup striker. There he is.
There you
go. So before we go, guys, we're heading up towards the hour mark. I guess we may as well do our predictions for the game tomorrow. We St Johnstone coming to town. So, David, how do you see it playing out? What's your score prediction? First score, if you want to tell me any of that, if you wish, go ahead.
5-0, Maeda, first goal scorer.
I like it. Is that Friday feeling? Good stuff, mate. 5-0. Liam, what about yourself, mate? How do you feel about a good, comfortable victory back to form? A real statement?
I don't know. It'd be either 5-0 or 5-4.
Wait, I'm supposed to call goals left, man. That's what we were told we were going to get when you took over. That was the type of games we were going to get. But oh god. Well, the thing is, as well, you got to look at it this way. We goal difference, could be crucial in the end. See we next week with this game coming up against them at Ibrox, where see if we can go and get a convincing victory tomorrow and put a few past them. It does give you a wee bit of a cushion, I guess, but at the end of the day, it's still not acceptable. We need to go there next week and put in a performance. We can't just go in and go, oh, well, even if they beat us, we'll still be top of the league on goal difference, because the prize is there next week. If we can maintain this, you're looking at having a nice gap if we can go there and win next week. But yeah, hopefully tomorrow we see I'll say 3-0. I'll go for on that one. I'll say a nice 3-0 victory, as long as a clean sheet, and we can just see a bit more cohesion with the team, a wee bit more pace in the team, just so it gives you a bit of encouragement going into obviously next weekend. And then obviously we've got the transfer window closing in between that, and we've got the Champions League draw as well coming up midweek, so it's going to be a very busy next few days. Because we've got that on the Thursday night's the Champions League draw, and Friday night next week, I'm told, is deadline night. I thought Thursday was also deadline night, but it turns out it's also Friday. So that means that next week when we do this show, it will be deadline night. So yes, it will. Liam, do you have a yellow tie at all?
Yellow tie?
A yellow tie.
What, a scarf? I don't know.
A yellow scarf. Because over here in the UK, whenever it's deadline day, it's become famous for Jim White and his yellow ties on Sky Sports News, because the aesthetic on Sky Sports is all like the yellow news ticker. So you'd always wear a yellow tie. So maybe next week when we're on, maybe we'll all be decked out on yellow ties or a yellow scarf. In Liam's case, we'll maybe stick them on just to go with the aesthetic of it with Sky Sports News. Because rather than watch that for the evening up to deadline night, watch us instead. We'll be on. We'll be covering it.
Covering the whole time.
Hopefully Celtic have got all the business done by then. But I've got a funny feeling we're going to be sitting there clock watching on deadline day. We're waiting for some sort of update, for something to come in, who we're signing. But yeah, that will be us next Friday then. But yeah, it's a busy week coming up. But yeah, first things first, tomorrow, St Johnstone at home. Big performance from the boys needed. So yeah, we will leave it there, guys. And if you're going to the game tomorrow, obviously enjoy it. If wherever you watch it, or hopefully it's a good game. We'll all come away singing and dancing, good 3 points on the bag, and then yeah, it's all go towards Ibrox after that. It's all concentration on that. So yeah, guys, we're heading off now, and we will catch you all later. See you, folks.
See you later, guys.